Hello, hello. This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today we're going to be talking about Jonathan Majors. There's huge news when he was arrested. There was an accusation from a girl he was with saying that he was involved in domestic violence. And then more news came out. So many people rushed to put guilt on him. And there was a lot of comparisons between Jonathan Majors and Ezra Miller, because Ezra Miller has caused a lot of trouble for Warner Brothers, who's playing the Flash, and Jonathan Majors is the villain for the MCU. He's going to be like their Thanos. He's, playing Kang. So this is a really big deal. And then there's a lot of people who jumped to accusations, and then there was a lot of people who were like, why don't y'all just wait for some more information? And more information came out, and it's looking like he was lied on and framed or whatever. So we'll be talking about that. ESPN honored Lia Thomas, William Thomas, the swimmer from UPenn who had, became transgender, and then all of a sudden started winning. So they honored him for Women's History Month. And so it's kind of funny because we're also going to be talking about digital blackface, an article from CNN. And I'm like, how can y'all be upset that white people are using memes of black people? Just memes and GIFs. You're mad about those things, but Lia Thomas can be honored in Women's History Month, and the vice president can honor Dylan Mulvaney for 365 days of girlhood. It's just a really dumb world that we're living in. Really, really radically stupid. But that's unfortunately our world right now. So before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteennews.com, check out different content on the website, different articles, different videos, etc. Please check out different merch that we have at the store on the website. That stuff does help when you get, purchase the merchandise. So I got the I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For, got the Be Better Not Bitter, got the My Money My Business, black tea mugs, You Are Not That Special. We also have those on mugs as well. So go check out what we got. If you like what we do here, please consider leaving a donation at blackteennews.com/donate. Cost to stream, cost to run my website, all that good stuff. So if you would like to support in that kind of way, God bless you. Really, really appreciate it. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, you can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you can do super chat and all that good stuff. So, and monetized. So thank you guys for subscribing and watching, because obviously that all really did help. So also, March is reading month. We're still in March. We're getting toward the end. Not that I wouldn't promote all this stuff not during March, but making sure that I mention at least that I write a bunch of books. And so I have 15 that are published right now. So if you want to check out my stuff, my website is ninjadustpublishing.com. If you go to blackteennews.com, though, there's a banner on the top of the merchandise page that has my books on it. It'll take you right to my book website, or you can just search my name on Amazon. I got, all kinds of cool stuff. I do make my own covers and stuff as well. Actually, I just, this is my children's chapter books. I was just asked to give a lecture on publishing and stuff. So that'll be like next month. So that's pretty cool. College asked me to do it. So I do have my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That's available for pre-order. So you guys can go ahead and check that out as well. So I normally start with a meme, but we're just going to jump into the story because it's about memes and GIFs and so on. So CNN had this debacle of an article about digital blackface. So, oh boy, this is dumb. And I've seen people say stuff like this, but this is really, really dumb. And I posted this on Facebook, And someone in my comments was like, a white person wrote this, didn't they? Nope, it was not a white writer. It was a black person. It was a black person. So at least I believe it was when I looked at the Twitter, the person who shared it, posted the article, the author. I can double check, but I don't want to spread fake news now, and I'm not so confident. But I was pretty sure there was a black person who did it. So just because white people do dumb woke stuff doesn't mean that black people don't, jump into the whole woke stuff as well. So again, as I already mentioned, it's very strange that we live in a world where people want to do the, Dylan Mulvaney's a woman. They love drag. They're pushing drag so much. They want to honor Lia Thomas as a woman. You have Woman of the Year for Rachel Levine, who's a dude. They're all into people, imposters around, identifying whatever way. But if someone posts a GIF or a meme of a black person and you're not actually black, then they have a problem with it. So that's pretty crazy. Yes, it is a black person. Yes, it is a black person. Just double checked. Yeah. So sorry, guys. It was a black person who wrote that monstrosity of an article. So we got to go through it because this is pretty bonkers. That this is the world that we're living in. That people care about these crazy microaggressions when they allow so many other things to get by and pass in this world. So CNN should be embarrassed, especially since we're in this age of CNN now, of their takeover. So you would think that they'd not want stuff this ridiculously woke, but here we are. So here's the what's digital blackface and why is it wrong when white people use it. So it's by John Blake. And yes, John Blake is a black man. Now, this lady's pretty famous. The song that Ain't Nobody Got Time for That. Maybe you shared that viral video of Kimberly Sweet Brown Wilkins telling a reporter after narrowly escaping an apartment fire, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. If you've never seen that video, you're really missing out. So go ahead and check it out because it was iconic. It was really great. Perhaps you posted that meme of supermodel Tyra Banks exploding in anger on America's Next Top Model. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. I've definitely done that. Or maybe you've simply posted popular GIFs, such as one of NBA great Michael Jordan crying or drag queen RuPaul declaring girl. Never done that. Michael Jordan, yeah, it's not RuPaul. If you're black and you shared such images online, you get a pass. But if you're white, you may have inadvertently perpetuated one of the most insidious forms of contemporary racism. You may be wearing digital blackface. This is so stupid. Okay, I cannot tell you how many GIFs of, and I know there's like a debate whether they're GIFs or GIFs. I've obviously calling them GIFs. I can't tell you how many white memes I've shared of white people. How many people have shared the white girlfriend meme with the guy looking back and the girl, she's looking at him because he's looking at another girl. How many people shared that? How many people share that? How many people have shared the meme with the two women? There's one woman pointing and one holding, and then the other person scream, and the cat meme. Oh my gosh. So many people love that one. What about the meme of the guy who's like, he looks like the guy from Princess Bride. That's not him though. It's somebody else. Shia LaBeouf saying "Do it." I've used that one a lot. There's just the little girl who smiles and behind like a fire of a house burning down. There's so many memes and GIFs and stuff that people use. of people who are not black. So to be upset and to not write an article about everyone being not you, if people can't use black gifts who are not black, then why aren't you telling black people to not use gifts of people who are white? Okay, so just madness here, but we'll keep going. And the fact that it's like they're saying like it's so heinous. They're saying it's so heinous. Someone in the comments of where I first saw this article, they're like, "But we can still use the pregnant man emoji, right?" Just to highlight how stupid our world is. And in the comments, like I saw so many people just using black gift after black gift after black gift to prove a point. You're not going to tell the internet to stop using gifts. Like the internet's undefeated, man. What is digital blackface? Digital blackface is a practice where white people co opt online expressions of black imagery, slang, catchphrases, or culture to convey comic relief or express emotions. Why is it only blackface, digital blackface, when it's white people? Why is it only blackface when it's white people? There's a lot of people in this world who aren't black and also they're who aren't white. So why that distinction? Why only see when people bring up so many racial things, to me it seems so obvious that so many people just don't like white people. And so much about being sensitive and inclusive and stuff is really just about being anti-white, and it's weird. It's really weird. Very strange. These expressions, what one commentator calls radicalized reactions, are mainstays in Twitter feeds, TikTok videos, and Instagram reels, and are among the most popular internet memes. Digital blackface involves white people play acting at being black, says Lauren Michelle Jackson, an author and cultural critic. In an essay for Teen Vogue, Jackson says the internet thrives on white people laughing at exaggerated displays of blackness, reflecting a tendency among some to see black people as walking hyperbole. So that's just the nature of memes though. They wouldn't be if the blinking guy wasn't great, people wouldn't use it. If the thinking memes or whatever universe exploding or the conspiracy guy, if those weren't like hyperbole emotions and stuff, people wouldn't use them. They wouldn't go viral if they were tame and not amusing. So and again, they're just talking in white and black, as if black people use the white emojis and or not emojis but memes and gifs all the time too. So people are reaching so much to be hurt, it's ridiculous. There's like real things in the world to be grieved about. A meme is not it, man. Especially gifts like this. If you're still not sure how to define digital blackface, Jackson offers a guide. She says it includes displays of emotion stereotyped as excessive, so happy, so sassy, so ghetto, so loud. Our dial is on 10 all the time. Rarely are black characters afforded subtle traits or feelings. It's not true. Many white people choose images of black people when it comes to expressing exaggerated emotions on social media, a burden that black people didn't ask for, she says. So stupid. We are your sass, your nonchalance, your fury, your delight, your annoyance, your happy dance, your diva, your shade, your gas moments. Jackson writes, the weight of reaction gifting period rests on our shoulders. How many people use the catch me outside girl? This so dumb. Why digital blackface is wrong. Some may say posting a video of Sweet Brown saying, "Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire," is just for laughs. Why overthink it? Why give people yet another excuse for labeling white people racist for the most innocuous behaviors? But critics say digital blackface is wrong because it's a modern day repackaging of minstrel shows, a racist form of entertainment popular in the 19th century. That's when white actors' faces darken with burnt cork, entertain audiences by playing black characters as bumbling, happy-go-lucky simpletons. That practice continued in the 20th century on hit radio shows such as Amos and Andy. What's funny is then they use RuPaul. RuPaul is, I believe that's RuPaul right there. Um, RuPaul is actually participating in a minstrel show. Drag is a minstrel show, except you are mocking femininity and womanhood and women. That is what drag is. Dylan Mulvaney, his stuff is performative. It's like a minstrel show. It is amazing that people will reach for memes, gifs on the internet, and call that blackface, but they're okay with 365 days of girlhood for Dylan Mulvaney. They're putting drag stuff everywhere. They're upset because people don't want you to be able to do it in the streets because you can't bring your kids to your Christmas specials where you have horny reindeers doing all kinds of gross stuff. They want Nina West on Blues Clues and Nickelodeon and all kinds of stuff. They want your kids exposed to it. And they're complaining about digital blackface because you used Tyra Banks as a freaking GIF. This is dumb. This is so bizarre. But simply, digital blackface is 21st century uh, minstrel, minstrelsy. Historical blackface was never truly ended, and Americans have yet to actively confront their racist past to this day, Aaron Wong writes in an academic paper on the topic. In fact, minstrel blackface has emerged into even more subtle forms of racism that are now glorified all over the internet. Wong says that digital blackface is wrong because it culturally appropriates the language and expressions of Black people for entertainment. White people can't have expressions. People of different ethnicities can share similar expressions. We're just totally ignoring that white memes go viral all the time. The, while dismissing the severity of everyday instances of racism Black people encounter, such as police brutality, job discrimination, and educational inequality or inequity, those are things that people can actually be concerned about, not digital blackface. In trying to define digital blackface, it depends on who you talk to. The standard for some is comparable to what one Supreme Court justice once said when asked his test for pornography. I know it when I see it. The guidance might help if a white person shares an image online that perpetuates stereotypes of Black people as loud, dumb, hyper violent, or hypersexual. They've entered digital blackface territory. So, but the thing about blackface is that there were white people wearing costumes or whatever, and they were um, they're performing these very exaggerated expressions and personalities or whatever or traits of what they viewed as Black people. When people these memes or gifs or whatever, they're actually Black people who are being themselves, whether they are being loud or very expressive or angry or ghetto or yes, queen. Those are actually how those people are, unless it's from a TV show or something, and they're acting. And then I guess you could take that your gripes to the writer's room for whatever they're portraying. But I mean, Tyra Banks, that moment when she yelled at the girls, if you're unfamiliar with that moment, there was a contestant who she was rooting for, and they had two photos. They were letting it was elimination. They were letting the girls go, and so let it seemed like at first they were going to let both of them go. And so this Black girl, she, after she was cut, she was kind of like, okay, yeah, see you guys. And she's hugging people. Tyra was mad because she actually had her photo and she intended on her staying, but she just kind of wanted to see how her reaction was. And so because she didn't, cry and wasn't all upset and stuff, Tyra like really went off on her. And I don't really know if that was appropriate at the time, but that was it like what people knew Tyra to be. So it was like such a moment. So that's why it became such a thing, and Top Model became like such a huge, cultural phenomenon. I was on for years. So this idea that it's anything like a minstrel show with performers, it doesn't there it doesn't make sense. And again, there's a people use white people who say dumb things or expressive things or are emotional. The cat situation, the cat one, um pretend like this is like an issue that's important at all is hilarious. But the fact that people want to be so wounded to the point where they'll ignore everything else to get their narrative is just pretty insane to me. Anyway, this is the challenge that Elizabeth Halford faces. Halford is a brand designer, wrote an apologetic essay in 2020 about how she made a meme of out of Wilkins' "Ain't nobody got time for that" catchphrase, and sent some gif of the singer Beyonce repeating, "I'm not bossy, I'm the boss." I've engaged in digital blackface. Halford wrote, "I've laughed at people of color on the news facing horrifying crime and disasters and loss. I've appropriated Black trauma as punchlines and peeled their faces off to put on my own and say what I can't say to make you laugh or just because it went viral." Um, I mean, her house was on fire, so I mean, there is, I mean, that is true. So she was facing a crisis there. The song slapped though. The remix, it just did. Sorry, that's how I first saw it. Like the news thing, not the memes. It went viral because was it Schmoyo? I think did the. I don't know if Schmoyo actually did it. I don't know if Schmoyo did it, but someone made a song and it was fire. Oh Lord Jesus, it was fire. If you haven't seen it, it was great. Um, Halford tells CNN she was bothered that she overlooked the context of Sweet Brown's interview. The woman had just experienced a tragedy. "I guess we find it funny the way Black people tell their story with so much flair," she says, "but at the end of the day, one woman's apartment building burned down while she was in bed." And that is tragic. But people don't exclusively do that to Black people. So if people would apologize about how they reacted and overlooked her actual story instead of reaching out to see how they could help. She was obviously okay. If she hadn't, survived, that would, people would it wouldn't be a story like this. It would have been a story. It would have been far more tragic, and it wouldn't have become a living meme. Um, the song slapped though. That's why it exploded. But Halford says that doesn't mean she won't use any more gifts of Black people. She doesn't object to Beyonce "I'm the boss" meme because she thinks it empowers women. She said, "Nope, that's still blackface. That's still blackface if you're going that route." She says that as long as a meme or gif is empowering and not demeaning, she feels free to use it. Besides, Halford says if she refrains from using any Black memes, she runs into another problem. Those are the most effective because white people are so boring. She says, I'm not going to list all the ones that I already said earlier, but yeah, there's a lot of white memes that people use. Jackson in her Vogue essay acknowledge why. But I will say this: why do hate white people hate themselves so much? That is so puzzling. It's annoying. It's cringe. And saying white people are so boring. Southern people might have the cutest little expressions, the funniest expressions. You know, there's a sound on TikTok that people using a lot of a guy who lived down in the South somewhere, and they asked him about pronouns and stuff, and they're like, "What are your pronouns?" He's like, "I'm a man. I'm a male. I don't get into that mentally ill stuff." But like people are reusing that all the time for things that have nothing to do with gender or whatever. Someone I saw used it because there was a filter. It's supposed to make everyone look really pretty, but it kind of exaggerates some more masculine features in females. So it made her look like a dude. So she's been doing like Prince Charming from Shrek content. Her stuff just blew up. She was like a small channel and it just blew up from this one filter. So she used that filter. And so you can't say white people don't are just boring. Maybe you're boring. And is that why so many white people are doing the whole, self-flatulation thing where they're just, hitting themselves and beating themselves and asking for forgiveness and wailing and crying and gnashing of teeth because they need something to make them special, and they think they'll get attention if they just apologize, because there's so many people doing it that it's pretty boring now. It would be strictly boring if it wasn't so sad. But let's go on. Jackson in her Vogue essay acknowledges it can't, of course it's in Vogue, it can't be uh, um, um, hard to know where to draw the line. Now that I'm not suggesting that white and non-black people refrain from ever circulating a black person's image for amusement or otherwise, she writes, there's no perspective or proscriptive step-by-step rule book to follow. Nobody's coming to take gifts away, but no digital behavior exists in a de-radicalized vacuum. Deracialized vacuum. She says a white person can spread digital blackface without malicious intent. Digital blackface does not describe intent, but the act of inhibiting a black persona. She adds, employing digital technology to co-opt a perceived cachet of black cool to involves play acting blackness in a minstrel-like tradition. But you know what? I bet if people only use gifts of like Melania and like Melania stuff was around and people you didn't see anyone like doing anything with Michelle, I think people would have like an issue with that. People always complain about something. No matter how brief the performance or playful the intent, summoning black images to play types means parroting over 150 years of American black tradition. So whatever happens to Sweet Brown, another challenge with defining digital blackface is that some of the alleged victims of the practice might chafe at being labeled casualties of racism. Consider what happened to the woman now known as Sweet Brown after she went viral. She hired an agent, appeared on The View and Jimmy Kimmel Live. An auto-tuned version of her original video now has at least 22 million views because it slaps. Sweet Brown did go public with accusations that she had been exploited, but it had little to do with her race. In 2013, she sued Apple and an Oklahoma radio show over using her likeness without permission and producing a song sold on iTunes that sampled some of her catchphrases. And Sweet Brown the victim of digital blackface, or did she benefit from the exposure? It's a tough question. But in the meantime, if you are a white person who is contemplating using a hold my wig gif, you should consider the advice Jackson offers in her Teen Vogue essay to white people who play act being black online. Jackson, the answer would they could have answered that question somewhat with Sweet Brown if they reported if she had any financial benefit to it. That would have seemed like an interesting thing to put in the article. It says she sued. I don't know if she won. So this first time me reading through the whole article, so I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to look that up. If you find yourself always reaching for a black face to release your inner sass monster, maybe consider going to Extra Country Mile and pick this nice Taylor Swift gif instead. Oh gosh. So that's the end of the article. That's the end of the article. Digital blackface. Wow. So really, really crazy. Really, really dumb. I don't think I have anything more to say than that. Except let's go ahead and talk about ESPN. As I already said, it's crazy that these are the things that people complain about and want to write essays about and articles about, even like, on CNN of all places. Not that CNN doesn't write dumb articles, but I mean, I guess I always knew that it was a CNN article. Excuse me, but doesn't that seem like a really crazy article that might be in the Washington Post or New York Times or something? Like it's just, or the Atlantic maybe, or Vogue, Teen Vogue or something like that. I can see that, but like so crazy. So anyway, ESPN did a segment about Women's History Month, and they highlighted Lia Thomas, also known as William Thomas, but is going by Lia Thomas, who's originally a male swimmer who didn't do that hot, decided to transition, and all of a sudden was whipping all the girls because, biology. So here's a little segment.
In 2022, swimmer Lia Thomas became the first transgender athlete to win an NCAA Division I championship by winning the 500 freestyle. The Texas native competed for 3 seasons on the men's swim team at the University of Pennsylvania. She began her transition after her sophomore season, and after a gap year due to the pandemic that forced the Ivy League to cancel all sports. Thomas made her debut as a member of the women's team in December 2021.
Being trans is not a choice. I didn't have any other choice because not transitioning was not leading me anywhere.
She competed amidst criticism from the swimming community, competitors, and teammates. She said she hopes her persistence serves a larger purpose.
People will say, oh, she just transitioned, so she would have an advantage, so she could win. I transitioned to be happy.
But digital blackface, guys. Now, here's how I feel about all this. If you so he's got a kink, right? He's turned on by his appearance, of femaleness in his own body. So he's actually got that kink. But if he says, he wanted to transition, he wanted to be happy, fine. You can either still not swim or you can still swim with the boys. And if that would make you slower, obviously it would make you slower or whatever, you have less muscle mass, etc. And you just be worse and you wouldn't be getting these titles. At least you could pursue your transness, your transition, but it doesn't explain why women have to lose. It doesn't explain why women have to get the back seat. And then they're doing this story during Women's History Month. So oh my gosh. It's amazing to me how many people say that they're feminists and they'll support people like Thomas. But I can definitely see why so many feminists have seen my videos and come on my page. Though I don't identify as a feminist, I've been talking a lot about how, they just don't care about women, and they're the ones that they feel that they want to push and they want to make them lose. And if you want to talk about toxic masculinity or the patriarchy, as a terrible takeover smash woman kind of thing, this is an example because he's not a woman. And the fact that there's so many corporate overlords who want to uplift this madness, it's the sports team and ESPN doing this. Why make a special segment during Women's History Month about Thomas, who came in the sport, who wasn't doing well on the men's team so much, transition, and is now taking titles away from females? Why is that something people want to celebrate? That's messed up. And if he wanted to be trans and wanted to transition, I think if you want to go that route, there's just some things you cannot have. You cannot have it all. You cannot win with everything. But it really doesn't explain why you think you get to proceed, why you get to take these opportunities from women, and women just have to shut up and take it. The women on the team have spoken out, some, silently or whatever, and they've said, hey, they've said, this is a non-negotiable thing, that he's going to play on the team. They can get you guys counselors to help you come to grips with the program. They don't like him being in the locker room. The girls have said that they've seen his junk in the locker room, so that it's made them very uncomfortable. There was one girl that he tied with, and they're like, we'll give Lia the trophy. And she had to stand without holding a trophy. And it's like, why do you want him to hold the trophy and not the female who placed and got it? And they're like, we'll send you yours in the mail or whatever. Give the trophy to Lia. So they really did treat these women like second-class citizens for the sake of this shiny, fake dude that's there. And it's really, really disgusting how they're treating women in this circumstance. So if he wanted to transition, he should have either stayed, he could transition, lose that muscle mass, all the other kind of stuff, and then keep competing with the boys, which I'm sure he'd probably just get totally phased out. But that would be his decision if that's what he wanted. Sometimes you make decisions in life and it gets you to places you don't want. and some things you can't have because you pursue that route that you want to go. I didn't want to exercise like I should have, and I'm not getting on rides at Cedar Point anytime soon. Whose fault is that? Sometimes you make decisions and you got to live with it. So why is it that everyone else has to live with the consequences of his decisions? Why? So he should either just not be able to compete, or he should just compete with the dudes. Period. So digital blackface, that CNN's upset about that today, and ESPN is highlighting Lia Thomas for Women's History Month. But I will say this. There was one thing that Thomas said, and I've pointed this out before, that he said that was interesting, and I thought he had a point. So he was doing an interview, I think it was with Good Morning America, and they asked him, what do you say to these girls who don't want you on the team? Because they wrote a letter. They say, we respect you as a woman and that you want to pursue this path, but it's just not, biologically, it's just not fair that you're on our team. So they asked him how he felt about it. And he said, well, if they really see me as a woman, why wouldn't they want me to compete on their team? And he knows what he's doing. He knows he knows what he's doing. The little narcissist. But he has a point. He has a point. If you respect him as a woman and you see him as a woman and you're going to say he's a woman, and if you believe trans women are women, if you believe trans women are women and cis women are women and they're both within the umbrella of women, why can't he compete? Why aren't his advantages now as a woman who's been, living with the testosterone, all the, benefits of maleness, but now he's a woman now because he identifies as a woman. Why can't he compete? And why isn't it the same thing as just gifted, men versus other men? Why isn't it the same if he's a woman? The answer is he's not a woman. He's not a woman. And so he knows he's not. He knows the answer, but he's playing into the fear and the cultural respectability that women have, and that they'll just go along with it to be nice, play nice, or whatever. The people who don't want to speak out against it. And he's saying, if you really believe I'm a woman, then you'll just accept me here, knowing that they don't really see him as a woman. And he knows that he's not really a woman, but who's going to have the guts to tell him otherwise? Who's going to tell him? Who's going to have the guts to tell him otherwise? Especially since he had the school bias side and, at ESPN and other folks as well. So why would he not continue to play these games? So what's the solution? You got to stop pussyfooting around the issue and just call him as you see him, that he's a man, Dylan's a man, don't use her pronouns. I know people might find that controversial. Don't play into it all, because they have a point. If you see them that way, then why can't they be what they claim to be if that's what they are? Now, you can't, if people really actually see themselves that way, that's how they see themselves, but their self-perception doesn't change reality, and it doesn't change the rest of the world, and doesn't change facts, it doesn't change their biology, it doesn't change anything, if you watch something, I was thinking about the Danger Room on X-Men, or the holodeck on Star Trek. You can go in there and program whatever you want, live in your little fantasy world. But what would happen if you just kidnap people and force them to live in the Danger Room and they could never leave? Or you just did something that the whole world was in programmed in some kind in the Matrix. What would you do? What would you do? Would you just be content there, or would you try to break free and free the world? Or would you just, accept that you live in a world of Lia Thomas's making? I say we break free. Take the red pill. take the red pill. And by the way, I do appreciate there's different people who've reached out to me on social media who've messaged me and said that they're not, really conservative or Christian or whatever, but they're just reasonable people and they appreciate me speaking out on this particular topic. And I know there's people who feel that they can't because of their jobs. I have a friend who reached out to me and told me where she works, the field, not particularly her job, but in the field that she works, that she could lose her license if she, speaks out against, transgenderism or whatever. So she has to be careful. Very vocal person. I understand a lot of people are in a bind themselves, so I get not everybody rushing to shout from the rooftops and stuff. So I'm in a position where I can shout this stuff from the rooftops. I don't think I would put myself in a position where I couldn't shout it from the rooftops, but I will take the slings and the arrows. But if you are in a position, I ask that you stand up and tell other people stand up, and don't let us all get trapped in the matrix, the world that they're making. So let's move on. So I think it was Saturday night. It was breaking news that Jonathan Majors had been arrested. Jonathan Majors, was the villain in the Creed 3 film. He's Kang he was in the Loki series, and he was just in the Ant-Man series. He's the villain for the MCU for all their plans going forward. There's going to be alternate Kangs in different films. I don't know how many contracts he has to appear in how many different movies, but just as Thanos was the big bad of like the first arcs of the Marvel universe, Kang is their next big bad. So Jonathan Majors has just a lot of stuff going on, just a lot of stuff. So it was big news to hear that he was arrested. So many people rushed to condemn him. And so so many people rush to do stories about it, period. And I get it because, it's a hot story. You get a lot of clicks, get a lot of people talk about it, however, it's a man's life, they're pretty serious allegations. So a lot of people started making memes, started making comparisons to Ezra Miller. And I've seen so many memes and posts about Majors being compared to Ezra Miller, and people saying, aha, Marvel has their own, and there are people on the left who are like, believe all women, automatically jump and be against the man. There are people who, I don't know, have it out for black men, it seems. There's people who found out that the girl was white and was like, that's what you get. Or whatever. There was all kinds of takes, and but there was a handful of people that I saw that were at least it seemed like some people kind of want him to fail because they just hate Marvel. But there were some people who were like, just wait for some more evidence to come out. So I was just kind of waiting to see the story evolve, but it didn't. There's stuff that wasn't making sense. So my sister Sabrina was like pretty passionate about it. So she heard, that they said the girl was in the hospital, and that they claimed that she had like lacerations or whatever, but they're saying that there was only behind her neck, behind her ear. And so my sister went to her room, and my young sister's playing D&D, and she was like, let me see your neck. She kind of like was trying to figure out, not like really aggressive or anything like that. It was just kind of like, how could this happen? She's trying to like go CSI or whatever. And it wasn't just clicking to her. Like the story didn't make sense. And also because there was an altercation that night in a cab, and then she didn't go report it until the next day. So, not saying that women don't sometimes wait to report stuff, but if something is going down and your life is in danger or you really feel threatened, you should like call the police immediately. And then when I heard what there was like in a cab or whatever, I'm like, it just seems like there's got to be some information out there, some kind of video or witnesses or something. So when I heard about the seatbelt thing, heard about the thing behind her ear, I was just like, that could happen from a seatbelt or something. And I don't know if that was the case, but just things didn't sound right. So his manager came out and said that the woman who accused him of assault took back her allegations. So she recanted her story. They said that in New York, they just had to arrest and do the investigation after that allegation, which I'm like, they arrest people in New York? Oh, that's news to me. But this from BuzzFeed. Creed 3 actor Jonathan Majors was arrested Saturday morning in Manhattan on suspicion of strangulation, assault, and harassment. Majors, 33, was arrested. Oh, we're the same age. Was arrested after a domestic dispute that happened in the Chelsea neighborhood. A 30-year-old woman was taken to a hospital with minor injuries to her head and neck. The NYPD said Majors was taken into custody without incident, and the woman told officers that she had been assaulted. The NYPD said Pura Chandri Major's lawyer said in the statement to BuzzFeed News that he is completely innocent and is provably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. According to Chandri, the video evidence of the incident, which occurred within a vehicle, and testimony from witnesses will prove the actor's innocence. The woman also took back her accusation of assault in a written statement. She also added that the woman was having an emotional crisis for which she is taken to a hospital yesterday. Majors is one of Hollywood's fastest rising stars. Blah, blah, blah. So there you go. Looks like more info will come out, and that hopefully this will be behind him soon. But I thought of this article back in the day. Back in the day, wasn't that long ago, but when Kavanaugh was being accused by Christine Blasey Ford, and Jamil Hill wrote an article in the Atlantic. And so she said she was at an event and there was like 100 Black men in the audience, and the conversation shifted to Kavanaugh, and she was surprised that the Black men was like for him, or at least standing up for him. And one of them was like, what about due process? And the other men were like nodding and clapping. And so she was just so surprised. And the article went on and she talked about how they probably related to him because Black men are like falsely accused. Exactly. men get falsely accused. So they know that they know women lie. Women don't lie all the time, but women do lie. We are not above lying. I mean, in general, I don't really lie, but people lie all the time. Women will set men up, especially after like the Me Too era, when they're like, just believe all women, which everyone knew was stupid if we were honest, because people who lie. But I heard of stories of women who were setting up men, like extorting them, like using them. And they're like, well, if you break up with me and you tell people about what I was doing to you, then I'm going to tell them you did X, Y, and Z to me. So there, people sympathize and empathize with women and want to protect women and believe women and make sure they get justice. But just like, women want justice for women, people want justice for men. Men have daughters, but moms have sons. Like, people know that guys can get in trouble and issues, especially with women who might lie. Remember Mattress Girl? Like there's public instances of women just not being truthful. One of the reasons why I can't stand Kamala Harris, and she's one of my least favorite people, like on the Democrat side. I hate that she's the vice president of the United States, but and not beyond her, not just because she's not talented and all kinds of other stuff, but she's one of the most insincere people. And I know politicians are so insincere, but she's up there. She's so up there. And during the Kavanaugh hearing, the Democrats had a press conference, and it was like female Democrats. And this is before either one of their testimonies, Ford's or Kavanaugh's. And Kamala Harris just came in front of the microphone. She's like, oh, I believe her. And I'm like, you're a prosecutor and you have heard neither story. You haven't heard him and you haven't heard her. How can you jump to that conclusion? Blatant partisan politics, sure, certainly. But it was so unfair. Like, there must be no justice when Kamala Harris is involved, I guess, to just jump to that. And then she was just like, wanted to say, always believe women, always believe women. And that was a statement. So when Joe Biden was accused of sexual assault, when that came out, Kamala Harris had to still stick with the, yeah, I believe all women. And it's like, okay, so you believe that that the president that you're serving under has committed sexual assault and hidden and kept it hidden and is covering it up to this day, but you're just like totally like, I'm going to the White House, so what do I care? Or like you could like admit that believe women, but you got to trust but verify. You could alter it some kind of way, but she had to stay with it. She had to stay with it, and even though it didn't make any sense, it was always a crazy time. So Jonathan Majors, it looks like his life will not be utterly destroyed for this, but though it looked like he did lose a campaign from like the I think it was the army after the allegations, and some of the videos that were coming after him and reporting. I saw a compilation on TikTok before I started of people who were like, he's not a good man, he's not a good dude, and again, people comparing him to Ezra Miller, and some people were like, oh, I hope all these people who have these ads with him are gonna start dropping him like instantly, and all this stuff. It happened over the weekend. It's already like collapsing, and it's just Monday. So if people had just waited just a little bit before they jumped on that train. And so now there's TikToks of people showing compilations of all these people being wrong, and some accounts being like, y'all should just go private now. just delete your whole account because all y'all look like clowns. So it is important to when women are in situations to offer them comfort and support, but just like you want her to have justice, you want the man to have justice, and that includes due process. It just does. And it looks like a lot he was probably just wigging out as those reports were coming in, poor dude. But that's what we know about it right now. That's what's good to wait with certain stuff as it comes out, not jump the gun. Hopefully a lot of people who did jump the gun will learn some lessons. I'm surprised there's still a lot of like gifs and memes and stuff up right now, from fairly large pages. Gotta be pretty embarrassing. I would take that stuff down pronto, but yeah, crazy story. Anyway, thank you guys for watching today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. Check out different merch, like the I said I got the "You Are Not That Special" and the different mugs. I got the Constitution is Glorious Liberty document with Frederick Douglass on there. By the way, his like glasses, with the gangsta glass pixelated glasses, usually they're like pixelated squares, they're actually stars, so I thought that was a little nice touch. So you can't probably see it here, but that's what it is. You can get black tea mugs and all kinds of other stuff. Also, if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream, costs to run my website, costs to have filters and all kinds of different stuff when I like put out like bigger fancy videos. So if you would like to support, also need to get some different new equipment, so if you can support in that way, I very much do appreciate it. Whether you can do a gift of $10, $20, $50, whatever you can do, I appreciate it. You have not because you asked not, so I am asking. But if you can't, I appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, tagging people, telling them to watch. All that stuff has really, really helped. I thank you guys for growing my channel, especially my YouTube channel, as there's this impending doom upon TikTok. So what happens will happen as far as like my nerves about it. So but I'm glad that I'm doing decently on other platforms, and that's because of you guys. So thank you guys very much, and I will see you tomorrow.